Do you really believe Native Americans are less?
That's not what I said, and you know it. This is a complete mischaracterization of our conversation.
The question hung in the air, a raw, direct challenge as Sarah's face, tight with emotion, filled the screen. Her eyes, usually bright with teenage mischief, now held a deep, simmering hurt, glistening slightly as she fought to keep her voice steady. She stood in the quiet hum of the school hallway, the principal's office door, a dark, imposing rectangle looming just behind her. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow on her determined expression. I can't believe it," Sarah began, her voice barely a whisper at first, then gaining strength. "We were in the assembly planning meeting, talking about cultural diversity, and Principal Thompson, he just waved it off, like it was nothing. He said, and I quote, 'We don't need to dwell on ancient history, especially when it doesn't directly contribute to modern academic achievement.' Ancient history, he called Native American culture ancient history that does contribute to modern academic achievement. A tremor ran through her, a mixture of disbelief and simmering anger. He said it with such disdain. Like our stories, our traditions, our very existence are just a footnote, something to be brushed aside because it's not relevant enough for his precious curriculum. Her gaze hardened, locking onto the lens as if speaking directly to each viewer. Does he really think that? Do you really think that? That Native Americans are somehow less important, less worthy of respect, because that's what it felt like. That's what it sounded *like. And it made me sick to my stomach. A single tear escaped, tracing a path down her cheek, but she didn't bother to wipe it away. Her conviction was too strong to be distracted by a moment of weakness. "I'm recording this because I need you to hear it," she pleaded, her voice cracking slightly. "I need you to see it. This isn't just about my feelings. It's about every Native American student who has ever felt invisible, every ancestor whose stories have been silenced." She took a deep, shaky breath, gathering herself. "Please, if you're watching this, if you believe in respect, in equality, in acknowledging all asterisk cultures like this video, subscribe to this channel. And please comment below where you're watching from. Let's make this heard. Let's show them that our history, our culture, our people are not ancient history. They are here, they are vibrant, and they matter." Her eyes, still wet but now blazing with a fierce resolve, stared into the camera. "This isn't just about my school," Sarah declared, her voice firm and unwavering. "It's about respect for all of us." The video ended abruptly, leaving only the lingering echo of her impassioned plea. The sterile silence of Principal Thompson's office was broken only by the hum of the fluorescent lights. Sarah sat ramrod straight, their hands clasped in their lap, a quiet defiance radiating from them. Across the imposing desk, Principal Thompson, a man whose very posture seemed to embody rigid tradition, glared at them. His face was a mask of displeasure, his thin lips pressed into a tight line. "Sarah," he began, his voice a low, controlled rumble, "I am profoundly disappointed. Your little video stunt is an act of insubordination. It has disrupted the entire school environment." He gestured vaguely with a hand, as if swatting away an annoying fly. "We run a school here, not a platform for personal grievances." Sarah met his gaze, their own eyes steady and unwavering. "Principal Thompson," they said, their voice calm despite the tremor in their stomach, "my video wasn't about personal grievances. It was about your words, words that were deeply hurtful and dismissive, especially to the few Native American students we have in this school." Thompson scoffed, a sound devoid of humor. "Hurtful, dismissive. Sarah, I was simply stating a fact. We have a curriculum to follow, a modern curriculum. Some cultures, frankly, just don't fit into it. We're too busy with real issues, preparing students for the future, not dwelling on ancient history." His tone was laced with an impatience that bordered on contempt. "Ancient history," Sarah repeated, a flicker of pain in their eyes. "Is the history of this land, the people who lived here for thousands of years, ancient history to you? Is the continued vibrant culture of Native American people irrelevant because it doesn't fit neatly into your modern curriculum? What about the historical inaccuracies taught in our textbooks? What about the complete lack of cultural representation for Native American students? Their voice gained strength with each question, a quiet fire igniting within them. When you say things like that, Principal Thompson, you're telling us that our heritage, our very existence, is less important. You're telling us we don't matter. Thompson leaned back, his expression hardening. Sarah, I don't have time for this philosophical debate. My job is to maintain order and provide a proper education. Your video has caused a disturbance. It has painted this institution and me personally in a very poor light. I am giving you one chance to rectify this. Take down the video, issue a public apology for the disruption, and we can consider this a learning experience. He paused, letting the threat hang in the air. Otherwise, I will have no choice but to suspend you. The power dynamic in the room was palpable, the principal's authority a heavy weight pressing down on Sarah. But Sarah refused to buckle. They took a deep breath, their gaze still locked with his. I will not take down the video, Principal Thompson, they stated, their voice clear and resolute. And I will not apologize for speaking my truth. I have a right to my voice, and I have a right to call out prejudice when I see it. My culture, my history, the history of all Native American people is not ancient history. It is alive and it matters. And if standing up for that means suspension, then so be it. A muscle twitched in Thompson's jaw. He opened his mouth, as if to deliver another reprimand, but Sarah was already rising. They turned, their head held high, and walked out of the office, leaving Principal Thompson fuming in the echoing silence. The door clicked shut behind them, a quiet, defiant punctuation mark on the scene. The school hallways buzzed with an unfamiliar energy. Whispers followed Sarah like a shadow, some sharp and critical, others soft and supportive. Everyone had seen the video, or at least heard about it. Principal Thompson's confrontation with Sarah had become the day's main event, eclipsing even the upcoming football game. Did you see it? She totally went off on Principal Thompson. A voice hissed from a locker bay. Yeah, but he deserved it, another retorted louder. He always acts like our history doesn't matter. Sarah walked with her head held high, though her stomach churned with a mix of anxiety and a strange, burgeoning pride. She heard the snippets of conversation, the divided opinions echoing through the crowded corridors. Some students glared, their faces twisted with disapproval, probably echoing their parents' or Principal Thompson's sentiments. They saw her as a disruptor, a troublemaker. Others offered small, encouraging smiles, a silent nod of solidarity. It was clear the school was split, a line drawn between those who valued conformity and those who yearned for change. As she reached her usual lunch spot, Maria and David were already there, their faces alight with a shared excitement. Maria, with her vibrant energy, practically bounced. Sarah, you're trending. Seriously, your video is everywhere. David, ever the thoughtful one, nodded, his eyes glued to his phone. She's right. Look at these comments. So many people are sharing it, especially from Native American communities. They're saying it's about time someone spoke up. He scrolled rapidly, showing her the screen. The view count was climbing at an astonishing rate, a dizzying blur of numbers. Comments poured in, a torrent of support and shared experiences. See. This one says, finally, a young voice speaking truth to power. And this one, our stories are not ancient history, they are living, breathing narratives. Sarah took her phone out, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened the video. The numbers indeed soared, far beyond anything she could have imagined. Her face, raw with emotion, stared back at her from the screen. The anger, the hurt, the conviction, it was all there, laid bare for the world to see. A wave of responsibility washed over her. This wasn't just her personal fight anymore. It had resonated far beyond the school walls, touching a chord with countless others who felt unseen, unheard, or less. It's a lot, Sarah admitted, her voice barely a whisper. The weight of all those eyes, all those expectations pressed down on her. Yet beneath the fear, a surge of purpose ignited. This was bigger than a suspension, bigger than Principal Thompson's outdated views. This was about validating identities, about reclaiming narratives. Later that day, as Sarah walked past the teacher's lounge, Ms. Davies, her English teacher, caught her eye. Miss Davies, usually reserved, offered a small, almost imperceptible nod, a flicker of understanding in her gaze. It was a silent acknowledgement, a subtle sign of support that spoke volumes. And then Mr. Henderson, the history teacher known for his quiet demeanor, walked by her in the hall. As he passed, he lowered his voice slightly just for her to hear. "Keep telling your story, Sarah. It's important." These small gestures, these quiet affirmations from within the system, were like tiny sparks in the growing fire of her resolve. They hinted at a deeper current of dissent against Principal Thompson's long-standing biases, a quiet frustration among some faculty members who recognized the injustice but felt powerless to openly challenge it. As the final bell rang, Sarah found a quiet corner in the library, pulling out her phone again. The video's views continued to climb, an unstoppable tide. She scrolled through the comments, her eyes scanning the messages of solidarity from across the country. There was a comment from a Native American elder in Arizona, praising her courage. Another from a college student in Oklahoma, expressing gratitude for her voice. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming. A mix of fear and determination settled in her chest. The fear was a cold knot, anticipating the inevitable backlash, the principal's next move. But the determination was a warm, steady glow, fueled by the knowledge that she was not alone. Her truth, once a solitary flame, was now igniting countless others, illuminating a path forward that was both terrifying and exhilarating. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. The front door clicked shut behind Sarah, the sound echoing in the sudden quiet of her home. The day's events, a whirlwind of defiance and confrontation, still spun in her head. Her conversation with Principal Thompson, his dismissive tone, her own unwavering refusal to back down, it all replayed like a broken record. She walked through the familiar hallway, the scent of cedar and sage comforting her in a way nothing else could. In the living room, bathed in the soft glow of a single lamp, sat her grandfather. He was a quiet man, his presence a steady anchor in their lives, his eyes holding the wisdom of generations. He looked up as she entered, a gentle nod acknowledging her arrival. "Grandfather," Sarah said, her voice a little shaky, the bravado she'd shown Principal Thompson replaced by a raw vulnerability. She sank onto the worn armchair opposite him, the springs creaking softly in protest. The words tumbled out of her, a rush of anger, hurt, and a lingering fear. She recounted the meeting with Principal Thompson, his threat of suspension, his unwavering belief that their culture was ancient history and irrelevant. She spoke of the viral video, the overwhelming support, and the hateful comments that had also begun to trickle in. Her voice cracked as she admitted, "He made me feel less. Like our stories, our very existence don't matter." Her grandfather listened patiently, his gaze steady, his hands resting calmly in his lap. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer immediate platitudes. But as she spoke of the principal's dismissiveness, a profound sadness settled in his eyes, a familiar shadow that Sarah had seen before. It wasn't anger, not in the explosive sense, but a deep, sorrowful understanding. When she finished, the silence stretched, comfortable and reflective. Finally, he spoke, his voice a low rumble like distant thunder. "I remember a time, Sarah, when I was your age. My teacher, she told us our language was a primitive tongue, that we should forget it and speak only English if we wanted to get ahead. She said our dances were savage, our stories nothing but superstitions." He paused, his eyes distant, lost in memory. It made me feel small, like a whisper in a storm. For a time I tried to believe her, I tried to forget. But the stories, they were in my blood, in my heart. They kept calling to me. He looked at her then, his gaze piercing. Our people, Sarah, we have always had to fight for our voice to be heard, from the very beginning. They tried to silence us, to erase us, to make us feel less, but we are still here. Our stories are still here. He leaned forward slightly. True strength isn't in shouting, child. It's in standing firm in your truth like a mighty oak. The wind can howl, the storms can rage, but the oak remains, its roots deep, its branches reaching for the sky. He spoke of their ancestors, their resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. He spoke of the sacredness of their traditions, the wisdom passed down through generations in stories, songs, and ceremonies. Our culture, he said, is not just history, Sarah. It is who we are. It is our past, our present, and our future. It is the air we breathe, the ground we walk upon, and our stories are our strength. Never let anyone tell you they don't matter. He smiled faintly. You have started something important, my granddaughter. You have spoken truth to power. It will be hard. There will be those who try to tear you down, to make you doubt yourself. But you must continue. Not just for yourself, but for all those who feel less, all those whose voices have been silenced. You carry the echoes of our ancestors, their strength, their wisdom. Let their voices guide you. As he spoke, the fear that had been gnawing at Sarah began to recede, replaced by a quiet, unwavering resolve. Her grandfather's words were not just comfort. They were a roadmap, a reaffirmation of her purpose. She felt the weight of responsibility, yes, but also a surge of power, knowing she was not alone. She was part of something ancient and enduring, a lineage of resilience. The path ahead would be challenging, but she would not falter. Her voice, amplified by the stories of her people, would be heard. The video, a raw, heartfelt plea from Sarah, erupted across screens with an intensity no one could have predicted. It wasn't just trending. It was a digital wildfire, spreading faster than Principal Thompson could ever hope to extinguish. News outlets, initially cautious, quickly picked up the story, their headlines blaring with phrases like "Student Challenges Principal on Native American History," and viral video sparked school controversy. Local community leaders, many of them Native American elders and activists, began to weigh in, their voices echoing Sarah's sentiments of historical erasure and cultural disrespect. The online world became a whirlwind of hashtags. Stand with Sarah, Native Voices Matter, #decolonize the curriculum, each one amplifying the next, creating a groundswell of support. Montages of comments flashed across screens, a vivid tapestry of human reaction. There were the voices of solidarity. Finally, someone is speaking truth to power. One comment read while another declared, "Her courage is inspiring. Our history matters." Interspersed with these were the hateful, venomous remarks spewed from anonymous accounts. Go back to where you came from. And this is just a kid looking for attention. But even the negativity couldn't drown out the undeniable roar of the conversation. The sheer volume of engagement was staggering, a testament to the power of a single, authentic voice. Principal Thompson's office, once a quiet bastion of authority, transformed into a besieged fortress. The phone lines were jammed, ringing incessantly with calls from irate parents, concerned community members, and relentless journalists. Their email inbox overflowed, each new message a fresh wave of pressure. Thompson, usually composed, began to show visible signs of strain. Their shoulders seemed to slump a little more each day, their once firm gaze now darted nervously around the room. The school board, a body typically slow to react, found themselves caught in the crosshairs of public opinion. Their weekly meetings, usually routine affairs, became heated debates, punctuated by angry phone calls and demands for immediate action. The principal's growing discomfort was palpable. Their dismissive attitude, once a shield, was now a target. Amidst the digital storm, Sarah's friends, Maria and David, stepped up, becoming her tireless digital guardians. They sat with her for hours, sifting through the deluge of messages. Maria, with her calm demeanor, filtered out the hateful comments, shielding Sarah from the worst of the online vitriol. David, a natural organizer, amplified the positive messages, reposting supportive comments and sharing news articles that championed Sarah's cause. They understood that this wasn't just about a video anymore. It was about a movement. "We need to channel all this energy," Maria said one afternoon, her eyes scanning the trending hashtags. "People want to do something. What if we start a petition?" David suggested, already typing furiously on his laptop. Something concrete with clear demands. Together they crafted an online petition, its goals clearly stated. "We, the undersigned, demand immediate cultural sensitivity training for all staff members at Northwood High School, and a comprehensive review of the school's curriculum to ensure accurate and inclusive representation of Native American history and culture." The petition quickly gained traction, collecting thousands of signatures within hours, each click a silent protest against the status quo. The petition's goals were simple yet profound, aiming to dismantle the systemic issues Sarah had bravely brought to light. Sarah, though overwhelmed, felt a strange sense of purpose bloom within her. The weight of responsibility was immense, but so was the surge of support. She saw the faces of her ancestors in the comments, felt their strength in the trending hashtags. This wasn't just her fight anymore. It was a collective cry for recognition, amplified by the very technology that had once seemed so trivial. The power of social media had taken a single, courageous voice and transformed it into a roaring tide of change, threatening to engulf the old, entrenched ways of thinking. The contrast between the supportive and hateful comments served only to highlight the urgent need for the very changes Sarah was fighting for. Her fight was now a movement, and the world was watching. The fluorescent hum of the school board meeting room did little to soothe the palpable tension. Every seat was filled and people spilled into the aisles, a testament to the viral storm Sarah's video had unleashed. Principal Thompson, usually so composed, fidgeted with the papers before them, their face a mask of strained politeness. Sarah sat beside their grandfather, their heart thumping a frantic rhythm against their ribs, but a new resolve, forged in the fires of online support, steadied their gaze. Maria and David were nearby, their presence a comforting anchor in the swirling sea of faces. Principal Thompson cleared their throat, the sound amplified by the microphone, and began their address. "Good evening, esteemed board members, parents, and community members. We are here tonight to discuss recent events that have caused some misunderstanding." Their voice was smooth, practiced, but a tremor of defensiveness was unmistakable. Thompson continued, downplaying the incident, framing Sarah's powerful statement as a youthful outburst, a misinterpretation of a nuanced discussion. "Our curriculum is comprehensive," Principal Thompson insisted, "and we strive for inclusivity. While we appreciate student feedback, it's important to remember that a single, isolated incident does not reflect the entirety of our educational philosophy." Their words felt like a cold shower, designed to douse the flames of public outrage, but Sarah felt a surge of indignation, not defeat. This dismissive attitude, this very minimization, was precisely what they were fighting against. When it was Sarah's turn to speak, a hush fell over the room. They rose, their voice clear despite the tremor in their hands. "Principal Thompson," Sarah began, their gaze unwavering, "this is not about a misunderstanding. This is about erasure. When you tell a class that Native American history begins and ends with Thanksgiving, when our rich and complex cultures are reduced to stereotypes and footnotes, you are not educating. You are actively participating in the systemic silencing of an entire people." Sarah's words resonated, not just as a student's complaint, but as a passionate indictment. Our history didn't start with colonization. It stretches back millennia, filled with innovation, art, and wisdom. And when our history is ignored, when our voices are stifled, it tells us that our existence doesn't matter. It tells us that we are less. The raw emotion in Sarah's voice, coupled with their articulate argument, was a pivotal moment. They weren't just angry, they were informed, impassioned, and utterly unafraid. Their growth from a hesitant student to a powerful advocate was undeniable. Next, Sarah's grandfather rose, his presence commanding a quiet respect. His voice, seasoned by years and wisdom, carried through the room. "My granddaughter speaks the truth," he said, his eyes scanning the faces before him. "Knowing your roots, knowing where you come from, is not just about facts and dates. It's about understanding who you are. It's about dignity. My ancestors walked this land for generations. Their stories, their struggles, their triumphs, they are part of me. If our children are denied these stories, they are denied a part of themselves. They are denied their heritage. And that, Principal Thompson, is a wound that runs deep." He shared a poignant story of his own grandmother, weaving baskets with patterns that told tales of their people, each stitch a thread connecting past to present. His words were a cultural anchor, grounding the discussion in the profound importance of ancestral wisdom. Then, the floodgates opened. A local Native American leader, a woman with piercing eyes and a calm demeanor, spoke next. "We are not asking for special treatment," she stated, her voice steady and firm. "We are asking for accuracy, for respect, for our children to see themselves reflected in the curriculum, not as relics of the past, but as living, breathing inheritors of a vibrant culture." A parent, whose child had expressed confusion about their own heritage after a history lesson, spoke passionately about the need for cultural sensitivity training for all staff. A former student, now a young adult, shared their own experience of feeling invisible in the school system. The diverse support for Sarah was overwhelming, each voice adding to the rising tide of public opinion. The school board members, initially appearing stoic, now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Their faces betrayed a mix of surprise and apprehension. They exchanged nervous glances, clearly caught between their loyalty to Principal Thompson and the undeniable pressure from the vocal public. The usual decorum of the meeting had been shattered, replaced by an urgent, collective demand for change. Principal Thompson's defensive posture had only fueled the fire, making their dismissive attitude even more apparent. The meeting ended without a clear resolution. No votes were taken, no immediate promises made. But as people filed out, a palpable shift in public opinion was evident. Conversations buzzed with renewed energy, and the hashtag #StandWithSarah, once confined to the digital realm, now echoed through the corridors of the school. Sarah, though exhausted, felt a quiet sense of triumph. Their voice, once a solitary cry, had now joined a chorus, and the harmony, though still forming, was powerful. The school board's indecision was clear, their discomfort a sign that the pressure was mounting. The fight was far from over, but a crucial battle had been won. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the empty school hallway as Sarah gathered her books. A soft voice called their name, and Sarah turned to see Mrs. Davies, their history teacher, approaching. Mrs. Davies was usually reserved, her presence in the classroom quiet but firm, yet today, there was a noticeable tremor in her hands as she clutched a worn leather satchel. "Sarah, do you have a moment?" Mrs. Davies asked, their voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, a flicker of curiosity replacing their exhaustion. They had always respected Mrs. Davies, even if their teaching had sometimes felt incomplete. Mrs. Davies fidgeted with the strap of her satchel. "I've been watching," they began, their gaze sweeping the deserted hall as if fearing eavesdroppers. "What you did, it took incredible courage, and I need to tell you something." They took a deep breath, their eyes meeting Sarah's with a mixture of shame and determination. "For years I've felt it, this discomfort with how we teach history. The way certain narratives are glossed over, or worse, completely omitted, especially when it comes to Native American history." Sarah listened, a knot forming in their stomach. It was one thing to challenge the principal, but to hear a teacher admit to this, it was a validation they hadn't expected. "I've wanted to speak out," Mrs. Davies continued, their voice gaining a fragile strength. "But I was afraid. afraid of repercussions, of losing my job, of being dismissed as radical. But watching you, Sarah, watching your bravery, it made me realize that fear is a poor excuse for complicity. Their voice cracked slightly. I'm ashamed that it took a student to finally ignite this fire in me, but I can't stand by any longer. A wave of emotion washed over Sarah. This wasn't just an ally. This was an admission of a systemic problem from within. I want to help you, Mrs. Davies stated, their resolve hardening. They unzipped their satchel, pulling out a stack of aged documents and a handful of business cards. I've been collecting these for years quietly. These are primary source documents, historical accounts from Native American perspectives, many of which are rarely, if ever, included in our textbooks. And these, they said, tapping the business cards, are contacts for Native American educators and historians, people who have dedicated their lives to preserving and sharing accurate history. They can corroborate everything you've been saying and more. Sarah's eyes widened as they took the documents. The paper felt delicate, almost sacred in their hands. This was invaluable. And there's something else, Mrs. Davies added, leaning in conspiratorially. I've been thinking, what if we organized a cultural awareness event? Not something sanctioned by Principal Thompson, not something they can control or dilute. Something independent. We could showcase the rich history, the vibrant cultures, the true stories that are being ignored. The idea bloomed in Sarah's mind. An event run by them with the support of a teacher who understood. It was brilliant. It was a direct counter to the principal's dismissal. We could invite storytellers, artists, maybe even some of the elders from the local tribal communities, Mrs. Davies mused, their eyes alight with possibility. It would be a way to educate our fellow students, our colleagues, even some parents without needing the principal's approval. It would show them what they're missing, what they're actively erasing. Sarah felt a surge of hope, stronger than any they had felt since their video went viral. This was different. This was an internal shift, a crack in the seemingly impenetrable wall of the administration. Principal Thompson's attempts to dismiss them had only galvanized more people. And now, a teacher, someone within the very system, was ready to stand with them. This is, thank you, Mrs. Davies, Sarah said, their voice thick with gratitude. This means everything. Mrs. Davies offered a small, sad smile. No, Sarah, thank you, for reminding me what courage truly looks like. We have a lot of work to do, but we won't be doing it alone anymore. As Sarah walked away, the weight of the historical documents in their hands felt less like a burden and more like a promise. The fight was far from over, but with allies like Mrs. Davies, the tide was beginning to turn. The quiet rebellion against Principal Thompson's narrow-mindedness was growing, one courageous act at a time. The principal's dismissive attitude had only served to awaken the very people they sought to control, and now, the seeds of true historical understanding were being sown, right within the school's walls, independent of their authority. Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose, their emotional state shifting from frustration to empowered determination. The principal's exact words, or rather, their intent to suppress and ignore, had inadvertently created a powerful movement. The scent of cedar and sage filled the community hall, a stark contrast to the sterile hallways of Principal Thompson's office. Sarah, with Maria and David by their side, watched as Mrs. Davies greeted an elder with a warm embrace. This was the first of many workshops, a quiet rebellion against the silence Principal Thompson had tried to enforce. It's incredible, Mrs. Davies, Sarah said, their voice hushed with awe as they observed the vibrant regalia of a traditional dancer. Mrs. Davies smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from them that Sarah had rarely seen at school. Our people have always found ways to preserve our stories, Sarah, even when others try to erase them. The elder, a woman with kind eyes and a voice like rustling leaves, began to speak. She shared tales of creation, of trickster spirits, and of the deep connection between their people and the land. Sarah felt a profound sense of belonging, a feeling that had been missing for so long. Maria and David, initially a bit hesitant, were now captivated, their phones forgotten in their laps. Later, a group of young people demonstrated a traditional dance, their movements fluid and powerful. Sarah found themselves tapping their foot to the rhythm, feeling the ancient beat resonate within them. The dancers, adorned in buckskin and intricate beadwork, moved with a grace that spoke of generations of practice, their steps echoing the rhythm of the earth. "This is so much more than what we learn in textbooks," Maria whispered, their eyes wide with wonder. "It's alive." David nodded. "Yeah, I never knew how much was out there, all the history, the art." Sarah felt a surge of pride, not just for their own heritage, but for the resilience of all Native American peoples. They had spent so much time focused on the anger and frustration of fighting Principal Thompson, but here, in this space, there was healing and celebration. They learned about the intricate beadwork, the symbolism woven into every pattern, and the stories behind each design. An artist showed them how to prepare hides, explaining the traditional methods passed down through generations. Sarah even tried their hand at a simple bead string, their fingers clumsy at first, but slowly finding a rhythm. One afternoon, a historian presented a detailed account of the local tribe's history, dispelling myths and correcting inaccuracies that Principal Thompson had allowed to fester in the school curriculum. They spoke of treaties broken, of forced removals, and of the enduring spirit of their ancestors. Sarah felt a familiar ache in their chest, but this time it was tempered with a newfound strength. Knowing the truth, even the painful parts felt empowering. "They tried to bury all of this," Sarah murmured to Mrs. Davies, their gaze fixed on an old photograph of a tribal elder. "And they failed," Mrs. Davies replied, their voice firm. "Because people like you, Sarah, refused to let it be forgotten." The workshops continued for weeks, each one building on the last. Sarah and their friends became regular attendees, their questions more insightful, their understanding deepening with every interaction. They learned traditional songs, their voices joining in the chorus, sometimes off-key, but always with heart. They heard personal narratives of elders who had lived through discrimination and hardship, yet still held onto their culture with fierce pride. One evening, after a particularly moving storytelling session, Sarah felt a profound shift within them. They had always known they were Native American, but it had often felt like a distant concept, something defined by Principal Thompson's ignorance or the textbook's omissions. Now it was a living, breathing part of them, vibrant and rich. They saw their own reflection in the stories, in the dances, in the eyes of the elders. "I feel connected," Sarah confessed to Maria and David on the walk home. "Like I finally understand who I am, not just what I'm fighting against." Maria linked arms with Sarah. "We all do. This has been eye-opening." David chimed in. "Yeah, Principal Thompson has no idea what he's missing, or what he's trying to suppress." The connections they forged extended beyond the workshops. Sarah began volunteering at the local Native American Cultural Center, helping with events and learning even more. They saw how the community supported each other, how they celebrated their heritage despite the challenges. This wasn't just about challenging Principal Thompson anymore. It was about building something new, something stronger. It was about celebrating their culture, preserving their history, and ensuring that future generations would never have to feel invisible. The hope that blossomed within Sarah was a powerful force, fueling their resolve for the battles yet to come. They knew that with Mrs. Davies and their friends by their side, and the wisdom of their ancestors guiding them, they could face anything Principal Thompson threw their way. Principal Thompson felt the walls closing in. The school board meeting had been a disaster, a public humiliation he wouldn't soon forget. Sarah's words, the community's outrage, it all echoed in his ears. He wouldn't let a teenage girl and a few vocal parents dictate how he ran his school. He needed to reassert control, and he needed to do it now. His first move was to tighten the reins on student activities. Effective immediately, he announced over the intercom, his voice tight with manufactured authority. All student gatherings outside of scheduled class time require explicit written permission from the principal's office, submitted at least 48 hours in advance. Failure to comply will result in disciplinary action. This was aimed directly at the burgeoning student movement, hoping to stifle their ability to organize. He also instructed the library staff to conduct a review of all books pertaining to Native American themes, citing age appropriateness and historical accuracy concerns. This was a thinly veiled attempt to remove any materials that might further fuel the student's interest in the very history he wished to suppress. "We must ensure our curriculum is balanced," he told Mrs. Davies, his eyes narrowed, and not overly focused on niche topics. Mrs. Davies, however, simply met his gaze with a quiet defiance that infuriated him. He wasn't finished. Principal Thompson then drafted a formal letter of reprimand for Mrs. Davies, citing unprofessional conduct and undermining school authority. He accused her of fostering dissent and encouraging insubordination by assisting Sarah and the other students. He truly believed that by isolating Mrs. Davies, he could dismantle the budding alliance. He presented the letter to her with a smug expression, expecting her to crumble. Instead, Mrs. Davies calmly read it, then looked at him with an unwavering gaze. "I stand by my actions, Principal Thompson," she said, her voice steady. "My duty is to educate, not to perpetuate ignorance." Her refusal to be intimidated only fueled his frustration, but his desperate measures only served to fan the flames. The students, far from being cowed, saw his actions as proof of their cause's validity. Social media exploded with screenshots of his new policies and news of Mrs. Davies' reprimand. The hashtag "Thompson is the problem" began trending locally. Parents, already agitated, were now furious. "He's trying to silence our children," one mother declared on a local news channel. "This isn't about education, it's about control and prejudice." The local newspaper, which had initially given the story moderate coverage, now ran front-page headlines detailing the principal's escalating tactics. Editorials condemned his autocratic leadership and failure to address legitimate community concerns. The school board, already reeling from the initial public outcry, found themselves facing a full-blown media crisis. Negative press was mounting, and whispers of potential lawsuits were beginning to circulate. Principal Thompson received an urgent summons to a special school board meeting. The atmosphere in the boardroom was icy. Board member Davies, usually composed, looked visibly stressed. "Principal Thompson," board member Davies began, their voice devoid of its usual warmth, "we are facing unprecedented negative publicity. Our phones haven't stopped ringing. The community is outraged, and frankly, we are receiving pressure from very high places." Another board member, a stern-faced woman named Mrs. Chen, interjected, "Your recent actions, Principal Thompson, have only exacerbated the situation. The attempt to ban books, the draconian rules on student gatherings, the reprimand of Mrs. Davies, these are not the actions of a principal trying to resolve a conflict. They are the actions of someone actively provoking one." Principal Thompson tried to defend himself. "I am simply trying to maintain order and uphold the integrity of our educational standards," he stammered, feeling his authority slipping away with each word. "These students are being disruptive, and Mrs. Davies is encouraging them." "Disruptive," board member Davies scoffed. "They are advocating for accurate representation of their heritage, and Mrs. Davies, by all accounts, is a highly respected educator who is now being unjustly targeted." The board chairperson, Mrs. Rodriguez, leaned forward, her expression grim. "Principal Thompson, we have given you ample opportunity to de-escalate this situation. Instead, you have chosen a path of confrontation that is now damaging the reputation of this entire school district. We cannot allow this to continue." She paused, letting her words hang in the air. "The board has discussed this at length. We are issuing you an ultimatum, Principal Thompson. You have 1 week to resolve this situation. You will publicly apologize for your actions, rescind the punitive measures against the students and Mrs. Davies, and work with the community to implement a comprehensive plan for integrating accurate Native American history and culture into the curriculum. If you fail to meet these conditions, we will have no choice but to pursue alternative leadership for this institution. The words hit Principal Thompson like a physical blow, an ultimatum. His job was on the line. He looked around the table, seeing only cold, determined faces. His isolation was complete. His desperate attempts to maintain control had not only failed, but had brought him to the brink of losing everything. He was cornered, and for the first time, a flicker of fear, raw and undeniable, pierced through his usual arrogance. The rising tide he had tried to suppress was now threatening to drown him. The school gym, usually a place for loud sports and boisterous assemblies, transformed into a vibrant tapestry of culture. The air hummed with anticipation, a stark contrast to the stifling tension Principal Thompson had tried to impose. Despite their best efforts to hinder it, the cultural awareness event was happening, and it was glorious. Every seat was filled, and people lined the walls, a diverse crowd of students, parents, and community members eager to witness what Principal Thompson had dismissed. The stage, adorned with colorful blankets and intricate beadwork, became a focal point. First, the rhythmic beat of a drum filled the space, deep and resonant, a heartbeat connecting past to present. Then, dancers in traditional regalia moved with grace and power, their movements telling stories as old as the land itself. Their footfalls echoed the steps of ancestors, and their swirling regalia was a blur of color and motion, captivating everyone present. Children in the front rows, their eyes wide with wonder, leaned forward mesmerized. The dancers performed the eagle dance, their arms mimicking the majestic bird's wings, a powerful symbol of freedom and spiritual connection. Following the dancers, Native American elders, their faces etched with wisdom and resilience, shared stories. Their voices, gentle yet firm, wove narratives of creation, of survival, of the deep connection to the earth and its creatures. They spoke of traditions passed down through generations, of the importance of community, and the enduring spirit of their people. There was a palpable sense of reverence in the gym as their words resonated, painting vivid pictures in the minds of the listeners. Many students, even those who had previously shown skepticism, were visibly moved, their expressions shifting from curiosity to understanding. One elder recounted the legend of the Corn Maiden, emphasizing themes of gratitude and sustenance. Along the perimeter of the gym, artists displayed their work. Intricately carved wooden figures, vibrant paintings depicting ancestral lands, and delicate pottery adorned tables. Each piece told a story, a testament to the creativity and skill embedded within Native American cultures. People milled about, admiring the artistry, asking questions, and learning about the symbolism behind each design. A display of traditional Navajo weaving, with its complex geometric patterns, drew a crowd, as also a collection of vibrant Plains Indian ledger art, depicting historical events and daily life. It was a living, breathing exhibition, a testament to the richness and diversity that Principal Thompson had tried so hard to diminish. Then, the moment arrived for Sarah to speak. She walked onto the stage, a quiet strength radiating from her. Mrs. Davies stood beside them, a reassuring presence. Sarah took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping across the diverse faces in the audience. Her voice, clear and steady, filled the gym. "Thank you all for being here today," Sarah began, their voice imbued with quiet power. "This event, this gathering, is more than just a display of culture. It's about visibility. It's about respect." Sarah paused, letting their words sink in. "For too long, our stories have been silenced, our histories ignored. But today, we are here, reclaiming our narrative." Sarah's words were not accusatory, but deeply heartfelt. "This isn't just about them or us," Sarah continued, their voice gaining a quiet intensity. "This is about all of us. It's about recognizing that our shared human history is richer, more vibrant, when we embrace all its threads." Sarah spoke of the importance of understanding, of empathy, and of building bridges instead of walls. "Every culture has something profound to teach us," Sarah said, their eyes meeting those of the students in the front row. "And when we open our hearts and minds to those teachings, we grow, we learn, and we become better human beings." Sarah's speech resonated deeply. Many in the audience nodded in agreement, some wiping away tears. The shift in public perception within the school was palpable. What Principal Thompson had tried to suppress had blossomed into something beautiful and unifying. The event was a resounding success, a powerful counter-narrative to the principal's prejudice, showcasing the beauty, resilience, and enduring spirit of Native American culture. It was a day that proved that truth, once unveiled, cannot be easily hidden again. The fluorescent lights of the school board meeting room hummed, casting a pale glow on the faces gathered. Principal Thompson sat rigidly, his usual dismissive air replaced by a strained tension. Sarah and her grandfather sat in the back row, their presence a silent, powerful reminder of the events that had led to this moment. The board members, typically composed, shifted uncomfortably, their gazes occasionally flicking towards Thompson. One of the board members, a woman with kind eyes, cleared their throat. "Following the overwhelming success of the recent cultural awareness event," they began, their voice calm but firm, "and the continued public pressure, the board has convened this final meeting regarding Principal Thompson." Another board member, a man with a stern expression, leaned forward. "We have reviewed the extensive feedback from the community, the parents, and most importantly, the students. We have also taken into account the significant negative publicity brought upon our school, directly stemming from the principal's initial handling of the situation." Principal Thompson's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. "It has become abundantly clear," the first board member continued, "that Principal Thompson failed to address the concerns of our Native American students and their families appropriately. Their dismissive attitude, as documented in numerous complaints and public statements, created an environment of exclusion and disrespect. This is in direct opposition to the values of inclusivity and understanding that our school district strives to uphold." A third board member, previously quiet, spoke up. "The evidence of their prejudice, unfortunately, is undeniable. The initial refusal to acknowledge the importance of cultural education, the attempts to suppress the student's voice, and the subsequent public statements have caused irreparable damage to the trust between the school administration and a significant portion of our community. This board cannot condone such actions." The air in the room grew heavy. Principal Thompson's face was now a mask of barely contained fury, though he still said nothing. "Therefore," the board member with kind eyes announced, their voice resonating with a quiet authority, "after careful deliberation and with the best interests of our students and our school community at heart, the board has voted to remove Principal Thompson from their position, effective immediately." A collective, almost imperceptible gasp rippled through the few attendees. Principal Thompson's eyes, wide with shock, finally met the gaze of the board members, their face drained of color. They opened their mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. The dismissal was a blunt, undeniable consequence of their actions. Sarah felt a quiet sense of relief wash over her. Beside her, her grandfather placed a gentle hand on her arm, their eyes meeting in a shared moment of solemn satisfaction. It was a victory, a significant one, but not a boisterous triumph. It was a quiet acknowledgement that justice, however slowly, had begun to prevail. Principal Thompson, after a moment of stunned silence, pushed their chair back abruptly, the screech echoing in the hushed room. They rose, their movements stiff, and without a word, turned and walked out of the meeting room, the door clicking shut behind them. Their departure was devoid of the usual pomp or defiance, replaced by a palpable sense of defeat. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through his hand as he reached for the doorknob, a final, silent admission of his crumbling authority. The board members watched them go, then turned their attention back to the room. "This decision," the stern board member stated, "is not taken lightly. It is a commitment to fostering an environment where all students feel valued and respected. We understand that this is but one step in a much longer journey towards true equality and understanding within our school and our community." Sarah nodded, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. They were right. The fight for equality, for recognition, was an ongoing one, but today a significant battle had been won. The truth, once unveiled, had indeed set things right, at least for now. The quiet triumph resonated deeply within her, a testament to the power of standing up for what is right, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable odds. The silence in the room was no longer heavy with tension, but with the quiet hum of change, a new beginning. Months later, the air within the school felt entirely different, lighter, almost breathable. The oppressive atmosphere that had once clung to the hallways like a shroud was gone, replaced by an invigorating sense of openness. This transformation was largely due to the arrival of Principal Davies, a leader whose progressive vision had begun to reshape the very fabric of the institution. Under their guidance, tangible changes were already evident. In classrooms that once ignored or misrepresented the rich tapestry of indigenous cultures, Native American history was now seamlessly integrated into the curriculum. Students learned not just about historical events, but about the vibrant traditions, diverse languages, and enduring resilience of indigenous peoples. Cultural events once suppressed were now regularly planned and celebrated, filling the school with the sounds of traditional music, the colors of intricate artwork, and the wisdom of elders. Sarah, no longer just a student with a viral video, had blossomed into a respected student leader. Their courage had not only inspired change, but had also carved out a new space for them within the school community. They were an integral part of the new Student-Teacher Committee, a body dedicated to fostering diversity and inclusion. Here, their insights and passion helped shape policies and initiatives, ensuring that every voice felt heard and valued. Sarah still made videos, but their content had evolved. Instead of challenging ignorance, their new productions celebrated different cultures, encouraging dialogue and understanding. They were a testament to the power of unity, showcasing the beauty of shared humanity. One crisp afternoon, Sarah visited their grandfather. The familiar scent of cedar and sage filled the air as they stepped into his cozy home. His eyes, wise and full of life, twinkled with immense pride as he watched them recount the recent changes at school. "You know, Sarah," he said, his voice a gentle rumble, "you didn't just challenge them, you planted a seed." He gestured vaguely towards the window, as if indicating the world beyond. "And look what's growing." Sarah smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached their eyes. "It wasn't just me, Grandpa. So many people helped. Maria, David, Mrs. Davies, the board even Les and Let, who started out so skeptical." "Yes, but you were the one who broke the ground," he countered, his gaze unwavering. "You asked the question that nobody else dared to ask, and you made them listen. Your voice, your truth, it resonated. It always will." Their grandfather's words warmed Sarah's heart, a comforting blanket of affirmation. They thought about Principal Thompson and how their dismissive attitude had initially fueled their determination. They remembered the principal's exact words, or rather, the dismissive tone that had dismissed the very idea of Native American history as irrelevant and divisive. That memory still stung, but it was now overshadowed by the positive changes they saw every day. The initial backlash they faced, the whispers and the skepticism, had only strengthened their resolve. And the outpouring of support from their peers, from community members, and from their own family, had shown them that they were not alone. Their emotional state during those early days had been a roller coaster of fear, anger, and unwavering conviction. Now it was mostly hope. The school, once a place of quiet discomfort for them, had transformed into a vibrant hub of learning and acceptance. One particular moment stood out. A student, a shy young person who had never spoken up before, presented a project on their family's Cherokee heritage during a cultural fair. Their voice, initially trembling, gained strength as they spoke, their eyes shining with pride. That, Sarah knew, was the true measure of their success. It wasn't just about the curriculum, it was about empowering individual voices. Sarah's grandfather reached out, gently patting their hand. Our people have always known the power of stories, Sarah. And you're telling a very important one that needed to be heard. Yeah, Sarah said, their voice soft. I guess so. They felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction that settled deep within their bones. The journey had been difficult, fraught with challenges and moments of doubt, but standing here, seeing the ripple effect of their actions, made it all worthwhile. The school was a living testament to the enduring power of truth, a place where the seeds of understanding, once planted, were now blossoming into a vibrant and inclusive community. It was a new beginning, not just for the school but for Sarah and for the countless voices they had helped to amplify. The fight for recognition and respect was far from over, but this was a significant victory, a beacon of hope for what was yet to come. Instead of despair, there was now a palpable sense of excitement for the future. The school board's decision had paved the way for this. The journey continued for Sarah, not just through the halls of high school, but into a world where her voice resonated even more powerfully. Years later, she stood on a different stage, the backdrop a university lecture hall, her academic robes a testament to her continued pursuit of knowledge and justice. The initial viral video, the one titled, "Do You Really Believe Native Americans Are Less?" occasionally flickered on a large screen behind her during presentations, a poignant reminder of where her advocacy began. It was a visual anchor, connecting her past struggles to her present triumphs. Sarah's commitment to advocacy was unwavering. After careful consideration, and after a transformative high school experience, she pursued studies in indigenous law and social justice. Years later, she was not just a student but a burgeoning leader, her passion undimmed. Principal Thompson's dismissive attitude had only fueled her fire, and his exact words, or rather, the intent behind them, echoed in her memory, reminding her of the systemic biases she was fighting to dismantle. She spoke at conferences, her clear, strong voice articulating the nuanced challenges faced by marginalized communities. A montage of these moments would play out, Sarah addressing a student union, her hands gesturing emphatically. Sarah at a community center surrounded by elders, their wisdom reflected in her eyes. Sarah at a protest, her face determined, her message amplified by the crowd. Each scene underscored her long-term dedication. The original video, a raw, heartfelt plea, would occasionally appear, perhaps as a brief clip within a larger documentary about youth activism. It was a testament to the ripple effect of one person standing up, a reminder that her initial question had sparked a movement. The familiar prompt, like "Subscribe, where are you watching from?" would briefly flash, a nostalgic nod to its digital origins, now imbued with deeper meaning. Do you really believe Native Americans are less? Sarah's voice, older now but still carrying the same conviction, would echo in a voiceover. That question, posed so many years ago, was met with silence by some and outrage by others. But for us, for my people, it was a question that demanded an answer rooted in our enduring strength, our resilience, and the undeniable beauty of our heritage. She stood now, looking out at a diverse crowd, a confident, determined smile gracing her lips. The journey for equality was long, she knew, but her voice, and the voices she had helped amplify, would continue to echo through time. The ending felt not like a conclusion, but a hopeful continuation, a promise that the fight for recognition and justice would persist. The film's core message resonated deeply: never let anyone diminish your worth. The indigenous board members, the Native American community, Les and Let, all contributed to this ongoing narrative. Maria and David, along with Mrs. Davies, had been instrumental. Your commitment, their support, and our collective effort had made a profound difference. One day the world would fully understand. Instead of despair, there was hope. Yeah, a powerful hope.